Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be covering section 1.3, which has to do with midpoint and distance formula. So you should have learned this in 8th grade, but if not, we'll go ahead and teach it to you today. Otherwise, it'll be a refresher for you. So as always, just a quick reminder, since we are still pretty early on in the semester, you can find all the notes on Google Classroom under Chapter 1. There will be a blank notes packet you can print out, and the key is also provided on there. So feel free to use those to help you out. So first things first, distance formula. Zoom in here for you. Okay, so distance formula is, get my pen back on here. There we go. D is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And x1, y1, x2, y2 are coordinates. So an example here, find the distance between the 2 points on the graph. So I would first need to write down what are those points. So that one to the left looks like it is at -5 and 3. And then the one to the right looks like it's at -2, -3. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and use my formula. So distance is the square root. I'm going to fill in my second x coordinate, which is -2, minus my first x coordinate, which is -5. Be careful there with those double negatives. Plus my second y coordinate, which is -3, minus my first y coordinate, which is 3. So that's what I have so far. Then I'll go through and simplify that. So that's going to be D is equal to -2 plus 5, which is 3. So the square root of 3 squared plus -3 minus 3, which is -6 squared. Simplifying further, that means D is the square root of 9 plus 36, which means D is the square root of, oops, sorry guys. Let's open that back up. Okay, sorry about that. Let's go back to where we were. So we were working on that first problem there. So the coordinates were, let me make it into a presentation. All right. So that's -5 and 3. I'll just go ahead and recopy this down for you all. -2, -3. And we had just finished up the distance formula, and we were on the square root of 9 plus square root of 36, which is the square root of 45. And then we could just leave it like that as a radical or put it into a calculator and get 6.7. So there's our distance there. Find AB when A is -4, 1, and B is 3, -1. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and use our distance formula once again. So x2 is 3 minus x1 is -4. Our y2 is -1 minus our y1 is 1. We're going to go ahead and square that. So that comes out to the square root of, that's going to be 7 squared plus -2 squared. So then D is going to be equal to the square root of 49 plus 4. So D is the square root of 53. which is 7.3. Okay, continuing on. Number 3, I will let you try on your own, and then you can check your answer in the answer key on Google Classroom. Moving on to midpoint. So midpoint is the middle of two coordinates on a coordinate plane. The formula is x1 plus x2 over 2. So the average of your x coordinates. And then y1 plus y2 over 2. So find the midpoint of GH given G is 7, -5, and H is 9, -1. So midpoint, just going to call it MP, it's going to be my x1, so 7, plus 9 over 2. And my y coordinates added together, so that is -5 plus -1 over 2. So simplifying, that's going to give me 16 over 2, which is 8, and -6 over 2, which is -3. There's my midpoint. So I'll let you try number 2 on your own, and then you can check your answers in the key on Google Classroom. Moving right along. Perfect, there we go. Finding a missing endpoint. So for this part, they're going to give you the coordinate of one of the endpoints and the midpoint, and you have to find the other endpoint. So it says find the coordinates of A if M is -1, 2, and that's the midpoint of AB, and B has coordinates 3, -5. Okay, so this isn't going to be an accurate picture, but just to give you a little picture of what we're looking at, we've got our midpoint here, and that's -1, 2. And then we know one of our endpoints is 3, -5, and we're trying to find this point here, point A. So what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to do two separate equations. We're going to have to solve for the x portion of the midpoint and then also the y portion. Let me see if I can zoom in here just a little bit. Looks like that's as far as I can go. Okay. So if I'm going to look at my x, I know my midpoint x is -1. So I know -1 has to equal 3, because that's one of my endpoints, plus the endpoint I don't know, over 2. So that's just using that midpoint formula. So to solve that, I would multiply both sides by 2. There we go. So that's going to be -2 equals 3 plus x. If I subtract 3, that gives me -5 is equal to x. Then I have to do the same thing for y. So I know 2 is the y coordinate of my midpoint. And then I also know -5 is an endpoint. So I'm going to say -5 plus y over 2 equals 2. I multiply by 2 on both sides. So 4 equals -5 plus y. If I add 5, that's 9 is equal to y. So what that tells me is that my answer to this question would be that A is -5 and +9. Okay, 2 and 3 are the same procedure. I'm going to let you try those on your own for practice, and then you can check your answers on the answer key. Moving down to the last part of this section, so some different types of midpoint examples. If P is the midpoint of xy, xp is 8x minus 2, and py is 12x minus 30, find the value of x. So we know that there's some kind of line segment xy, and we know P is the midpoint. So we know xp is 8x minus 2, and py is 12x minus 30. They want to know what's the value of x. So if p is the midpoint, that means I know that xp and py are equal. So, whoops, I'm trying to just do a straight line to demonstrate that they're congruent. So I would need to set those two equal to each other. So I know 8x minus 2 equals 12x minus 30. In other words, I know xp is equal to py. And then I could solve. So if I solve, I could add 30 here, so that'd be 28 equals for x is 7. That's my answer. I'm going to let you try 5 on your own. Same procedure. We'll do 6 together. So using the diagram to the left, if line N bisects QR, find QP. So just so you know, bisect means it splits in half. Or in other words, let's say it splits in 2 equal parts. So it splits it at the midpoint is what that tells us. So that means that 3x plus 5 and 5x minus 19 are going to be the same distance. And we're trying to find QP, so before I can find QP, I have to know x. So I'm going to say 3x plus 5 equals 5x minus 19. And then if I simplify, that's going to give me 2x is going to be equal to 24. So x is 12. Then I'm not done because they want QP. So I just need to plug that into QP. So QP is 3x plus 5. So that would be 3 times 12 plus 5. Sorry, guys. Okay, let me just finish that on a separate sheet since we're almost done. So we were trying to solve for QP. No, this isn't working. Okay, sorry about that. So QP was 3 times 12 plus 5. So QP is 41. And that was that last question on the more midpoint examples. So that's it for today. Awesome job. Make sure you save those notes, keep them all together and organized so you're ready to go when you have a quiz or test. See you next time.